Hi there, my name's Dan Ward and I'm here at GAK Pro Audio, and today we're going to be looking at the new ROLAND TB-03. Its form and sound will be familiar to many of you in that it's a reissue, effectively, a digital reissue of the classic TB-03 Bassline, which was a much maligned instrument when it was initially released, but then in its dying days found favour along with the acid house and the dance music revolution of the late 80s. And as such, its strange, weird, squeaking, blurty noise became the cornerstone of the acid house sound. And it is as much of a staple in modern electronic music as it was nearly 30 years ago. So the demand for the original units is such that ROLAND has found themselves inclined to bring it back in a modern form factor with a few additional features and built-in digital effects. So let's have a look and see how it works out. Okay, so here we have it, the TB-03. It comes with this stand and case, which can be elevated at various angles depending on convenience, and putting it in your setup as needed. The front panel is almost identical to the original TB-03, although the CV and gate outputs and the waveform switch were on the rear of the unit previously. Also added, as the original only had sync 24, we have the MIDI inputs and outputs, the mix inputs for chaining boutiques or other instruments together, the audio output, the headphone output, a little volume knob, and your USB, which I will cover in a little bit more detail in a moment. So as far as she sounds much like a TB-03. So if we switch it into pattern play mode and just press the play button and adjust a few of the parameters so you can get an idea of how she sounds. Cut-off frequency, a bit of resonance, envelope modulation, the decay, and the accent, which gives it this kind of velocity on certain notes there. And the tuning, which is really useful for live. Originally, the programming on the TB-03 was incredibly convoluted and made no sense, which it had a large impact on the way that it sounds. That this kind of offbeat, weird programming that you hear is symptomatic of the fact that it has an incredibly unusual programming features, where you put the notes in first and then your rests and then your accents. They have employed real-time recording on this version as well as programming over MIDI, but the original way of programming is always preferred because it has that kind of random element which creates that kind of sound. In addition to the original functions which we had on the TB-03, we also have overdrive and delay. The overdrive has a nice crunchy sound to it, and if we press the function button, there are a few options on the overdrive. Sort of progressing in their intensity. I like the overdrive one as it sounds very reminiscent of an overdriven transistor mixing desk, as opposed to an overdrive pedal or distortion, which is where you would have got that fundamental sound from back in the day when people were using these. Also the delay. So there's synchronization options on the delay, and also the function mode allows you to change the delay type from a digital a tape style delay, and a reverb as well, which is very good quality actually. Very impressed by the sound of the reverb on this particular unit. Let's switch that back to so let's have a look at programming it. So switch it into pattern write mode. We have track and pattern here. So the patterns are the basic memory patterns that are within it. You've got 7 banks of these. And the track is for when you're chaining patterns together into a more traditional song mode. But generally the one would use it in the pattern play mode. So we go to pattern write. Let's find an empty pattern. So that seems to be empty. Switch it into the pitch mode, and then you can literally hit the keys as they appear here, and that will fire. Tells you the step that you're on in the window here, and then you go into the time mode, which you then trigger whether you want the notes on or the notes off and the lengths of the notes there. So I'm going to be kind of fairly random here and go through that. And then you have the accents and the slides. So you can add those as you go through as well. And the next pattern is blank. So let's pop something into there, switch it into write mode, stop it, put it into pitch, brings up the step here. So then we've got pop that back into play. As you can hear, it does a great job of emulating the original in its purest form. Yeah, the waveform switch. So this allows you to switch between the triangle and square waveforms. The sawtooth is slightly more pure sound. It's less aggressive than the overdriven square. But much like the original, just give you those two slightly different flavours in terms of the waveform that it is processing. Single oscillator, 18 dB dB resonant filter, which is fairly unique to the TB-03, and the accents and the resonance, and it was actually designed to be a bass guitar emulator. So those kind of fizzy, twangy bits that you're getting are its attempts at sounding like a slap or a pulled bass, which ended up becoming the cornerstone of the sound of modern acid music, as opposed to funky bassline. Also, as I mentioned earlier, the USB, the unit's powered from the USB, so it can power from a regular phone-style charger or power from your computer. In addition to that, it will also do audio over the USB, so you can record directly into your DAW via the USB cable whilst powering the unit.